Well, folks, my failure of a Governor Greg Abbott is at it again. He's abusing immigrants. He's packed 40 people on a bus, 11 of them children, and shipped them off to LA, Los Angeles, a sanctuary city. He's doing this because he cannot handle being the governor of a border state. He's doing this because his racist voters love to abuse people of color. They absolutely adore this. They do. Watch this video, folks. Subset of the population, and that is a Republican voter. They're ignorant, they're foolish, and let me explain just how ignorant these Republicans are. We Democrats tried to get rid of Title 42 for a while. Greg Abbott sued this administration, the Biden administration, to keep Title 42 in place. Title 42 is the subset of laws that were enacted during COVID, which allowed for emergency deportations during a time of medical crisis. We explained to the Republicans that we needed to repeal Title 42, but they loved the sound and the feel of being able to deport people without trial, without due process. They loved that. They loved it so much that my governor, Greg Abbott, started this entire boondoggle called Operation Lone Star, where he's sucked, the numbers go between $4 and $6 billion so far out of our budget just to attack immigrants. Well, as we all know, as soon as Title 42 expired and all of their court machinations to try to force us to keep in place went away, and Title 8 became the law of the land again, illegal immigration evaporated. It's down by 70% and still falling. Republicans cannot govern. And it is worse than this, folks. I want you to think about that money that they're wasting with Operation Lone Star. And the money they're wasting shipping these migrants off. You know, it's great for the migrants, folks. It really is. You know, the busload of migrants that were shipped to Martha's Vineyard by DeSantis, they were lied to, told that they were being sent someplace to shop. Well, Democrats, we know how to handle things. The folks up in Martha's Vineyard took those people in. They're doing great. They've got jobs. They've settled in. They're working hard, paying taxes. They're living the American dream. But no thanks to Republicans. Republicans are doing this because they think it punishes Democrats. Now, if I were governor or a Democrat was governor of the state, what would have happened is the governor would have reached out to other states and said, we have a large influx of immigrants because of Title 42 and COVID. We need your assistance. And they would have made arrangements for immigrants to be moved to other parts of the country. Parts of the country that need labor. But that's not what Republicans do. You look at DeSantis, he's driven immigrant labor out of Florida. The Florida agricultural industry is just reeling. That's why you're paying $7-8 for a watermelon this year at the grocery store. It's pathetic. I mean, your produce is sky high because these people are running immigrants out of Florida left and right. They're running immigrants out of Texas and the Valley. The Valley down in Texas, down by the border, in the Brownsville area where this last busload of immigrants came from, is a huge contributor as far as citrus is concerned and beans are concerned. It's one of the breadbaskets of the country. But do Republicans think that way? No, not at all. Let me give you an idea how bad it's been here in the state of Texas. Republicans have run the state for a quarter century. Well, you know, you've all heard about our power grid. I mean, we just had a windstorm here. Not a tornado, not a hurricane, just a windstorm. Knocked power out in northeast Texas here where I live for a week. Yeah, I was running it on an emergency generator for a week. I was fortunate to have one. A lot of people didn't have one. People died, folks, from the heat. Why? Because Republicans cannot regulate anything. They cannot run the state. And they tried to blame it on all the local electric companies, the little cooperatives. Who regulates those cooperatives? The state. And the state's not there. And it's not just the power grid, folks. It's not. Our water infrastructure is crumbling. Just crumbling. Give you an idea. Back in 2011, when Republicans were still riding high on the infrastructure that we Democrats had built in this state, we used to have the best highways, best water infrastructure, best of everything. Then the Republicans took over and neglected it all. But it lasted for a while. Back in 2011, while it was, there were still water infrastructure in place that we Democrats had built in prior decades, we wasted about 20 billion gallons of water due to failed infrastructure. This year, this last year, we wasted 130 billion gallons of water due to failed infrastructure. Because Republicans cannot govern. Odessa, Texas was out of water for 2 days. And that's the way it works, folks. You look at the predominantly Democratic areas, San Antonio, they're good past 2100 for water. A historically Democratic city. Austin, also a historically Democratic city. They're good for water past 2100. Houston is a Democratic stronghold with more challenges. They don't have a big aquifer to feed their city like San Antonio does. San Antonio sits on a massive aquifer. Houston's good for water through 2050. If they don't do a thing, they're good for water through 2050. Dallas-Fort Worth, on the other hand, you can see notice as Dallas-Fort Worth. Dallas tends to be more Democratic. Fort Worth is Tarrant County, and that's a Republican stronghold. And you can't get anything done in Dallas-Fort Worth because the Republicans have inundated all of the politics up there. They're only good for water through 2035. Folks, that's a little over a decade away. They're going to have to scramble to get water for that major population center. But all the Republican areas, all the rural areas in the state of Texas, their infrastructure is crumbling. They're running out of water. These people are scrambling to find water. And it's pathetic. Republicans simply cannot govern. They just cannot govern. Greg Abbott is a joke. He is a clown. Again, he's wasted $4 to $6 billion on this Operation Lone Star boondoggle, which was nothing but a re-election campaign to feed hate to the haters. They don't do anything. Customs and Border Patrol are the ones that you keep reading all of the news, all of the tweets, everything about seizures and busts of terrorists and busts of fentanyl and everything. It's all Customs and Border Patrol. Way to go, Joe Biden. It's the federal government doing all that. Operation Lone Star is a boondoggle and a waste. But Republicans don't care. They're here to feed the hate. And folks, I keep saying it gets worse, but it gets worse. This year we had a budget surplus. Inflation drove prices up. We have a sales tax in the state. That means higher prices means more revenue coming in than what we planned for, more than what we budgeted for. Did they take that money and fix the infrastructure? Our water infrastructure needs an immediate $2.5 billion infusion for repairs. And I guarantee you that's only the start. Nope, there's only $300 plus million, about $330 million, million with an M, not a B, $330 million earmarked for repairs on a system that at minimum needs $2.5 billion worth of repairs. No, they didn't invest in our power grid, the main power grid, not even talking about the local, rural cooperatives that provide electricity out here that are probably going to need another $1.5 billion in repairs. We saw a windstorm, like we said, knock out power to almost all of East Texas. No, we're talking about the major ERCOT, the major grid needs at minimum another $500 million a year in maintenance. Did they take that surplus and apply it to that? No. They did a tax cut boondoggle. And the reason I call it a boondoggle, everybody would love a tax cut, right? But it's not really a tax cut. They're going to temporarily cut your taxes to look good for the election. But what's going to happen is the local districts, while they cut your tax rate at the state level and brought it down and cost revenues, over the next several years, the local districts are going to raise the valuations of your homes and your property. So the amount of taxes you're going to pay is going to float right back up to where it was. And they took that surplus and they paid for that gap. Instead of governing, instead of doing the right thing by the people. That's Republicans for you, folks. Vote every last one of them out of office. I appreciate you, folks. We are one of the fastest growing independent news organizations in the world. We're at over 1.3 million followers, and I need you to reach down and hit the subscribe button, because the statistics show us that at least 30% of you are not subscribed to our channel. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And while you're down there, hit the like button to get this video put out on the algorithm so more people can see about it. I love you, folks. This is Old Texas Paul. Have a wonderful day. Help me fight this. Get this video out.
Hey Midas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.